Victor, welcome. Nice to have you here. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Aaron. Happy to be here.
And happy to have you here. Let me begin by asking the Air Canada strike. We have a tentative settlement here, but it's not over yet. I want you to hear something that our Labor Minister, Patty Hajdu, has just said. She was criticized just a couple of days ago after the tentative strike, or at least after the strike was announced, for not having done very much. And then now that there's a tentative settlement, and you thought perhaps everything was done, listen to this.
It's unacceptable. Nobody should work for free in this country. In fact, we expect to get paid for the work that we perform. And that's why I've ordered a probe into the allegation of unpaid work in the airline sector. We will start this probe immediately, and if employers are exploiting loopholes in the Canada Labour Code, we'll close them. Nobody should be expected to work for free.
Well, there's a different take on this. What do you think?
I think that we are playing politics here because the minister knows pretty well that this is the way it usually works in the industry, and that to change this at Air Canada would mean to change it basically everywhere in the world. That's how the industry works. I think that she wanted to put pressure on Air Canada with this research, and I think it worked. But at the same time, this is just politics because I don't imagine how the Minister of Labor is going to introduce herself that much into the new contract with this analysis she's doing.
I was speaking to someone earlier on today. The idea, actually, he's a professor talking about what this dispute is going to change, perhaps with respect to unions going forward, right? And the fact that one of them was prepared apparently to go to jail if it came to that. When the Canada Labour Relations Board suggested, it's over. The deal, it's unlawful now. This has been in front of courts now for some time. Do we imagine this will begin to change things, or at least get us a quicker court decision on what rights unions have going forward?
I think it's going to be very interesting to see because you saw in the last years the government has the basic reaction to try to stop any kind of demonstrations like this or any kind of situation between the unions and any kind of enterprise. So here we need to make a change, and I think that the attitude the union had against the government was the right one at this time. It's important to protect the right of Canadians to ask for better conditions in work, and the way the government has been introducing itself in this is a problem. Now we're going to see what the analysis are going to be made and what's going to come out from this. But for sure, the government now needs to think of a new way of managing those kind of things. We saw this in Post Canada. We are seeing now the situation with Air Canada, and the government needs to work on new ways for them to intervene in these kind of situations.
So let me move from that on to this story that seems to change from day to day, and that's the Gallant Commission, the inquiry, of course, into the Saclic scandal. We heard yesterday, now there's a letter when the Couillard Liberals were still in power, but then today François Bonnardel seems to be the focus, suggesting that he was aware of cost overruns in the Saclic scandal all the way back in 2020. What do you know about this?
What we know today is that the people around Mr. Bonnardel, who used to be Minister of Transportation at that time, they knew that there were some huge problem with the price of the cost of this Saclic program, the CASA program. And the question today is to ask ourselves why the government didn't stop it, why the government let that go to the point where now it's going to cost 1.1 billion. At that time, Mr. Henriquez was there, who's a political advisor. He was informed that the cost was going high to 682 million. But imagine today it's 500 million more. So I don't understand why it didn't stop at that point. And that's what the Gallant Commissions need to bring us as answers, is to understand why, when the government see that the costs are becoming higher and higher, why they just don't stop the projects. And instead of that, they let the projects go, and that's our money who is down the drain. So it's a bit unacceptable, and it's hard to understand why it works like that at the government. Now Mr. Gallant is going to have to give us those kind of answers.
All right. And then do you think that I mentioned the situation with the Couillard Liberals apparently involved in this as well? Is there going to be a solution to this thing, or any kind of a resolution, do you think, anytime soon?
I think we're going to have lessons learned. I don't think it's going to have a resolution, because I think that at this point, having so many people of the government who decided to go through with this SACLIC file. I think that we just need to finish this program and to make sure that this doesn't happen again. If you look at the news in the last days, we are seeing that many others numeric transformation or digital transformations are having the same problems. The Gallant Commission is very useful for that. We need to make sure that we put in place new ways of work to make sure that if the cost goes too much higher, we stop the projects, we reevaluate, and that we are able to have a good managing of the public money, because that's the situation today. But the Gallant Commission is not going to do anything specifically for this file. I think that in the SACLIC matter, we're going to have to finish the project and to pay the $1.1 billion that it's going to cost probably.
Yeah, I said yesterday when this whole issue became a bit bigger, when they brought up the Liberals and now Francois Bonnardel in here, that this is either way, however this plays out, it's not a good look for the CAQ at all.
It's not, and it's going to cost them a lot because they were elected telling us as citizens that they were the best ones to manage the public money, to manage those kind of situations, that they have the experience, from the business sector to be able to make these kind of projects happen the best way. And this SACLIC scandal shows that it's not the case, and that the promise they made us, they were able to fulfill it. So when they're going to go to the next election, how they're going to present themselves as the responsible managers, it's going to be hard for them because they have been showing that they were not able to stop this situation from happening.
Yeah, 100% agree. A final thing before we run out of time, Victor, Christian Dubé today speaking publicly, again, trying to get the doctors to come back to the table and negotiate all this regarding Bill 106. And the suggestion, I think, today was he said, well, just, come up with a counteroffer. This deal doesn't seem to be going anywhere. What's going on here?
It's not going to go anywhere because Christian Dubé is trying to win something that no government has been able to get in the last 30 or 40 years. And it is to include certain performance targets in the portion of the doctor's pay. And that's where Bill 106 was put in place to make sure that he was able to do it legally. And now the negotiation is trying to get to that point. For the two federations of doctors, it's unacceptable for them to accept that the targets and the performance targets are part of the pay, because what they say is that they are not the only ones responsible for the situation of performance in the health system. They are saying that the government is responsible for that and not only the doctors. But at the same time, for Christian Dubé as a minister, it's a very nice position to protect the people and to say, we just want doctors to perform. And that's why it's going to be very hard for the Federation not to make a counter-proposal. I think that the minister is very well positioned for this matter. And now we're going to see what happens, because we know that there's going to be a cabinet shuffle within the next weeks. Is Christian Dubé going to be there in a month or two? Is he going to be the one finalizing this negotiation or not? That's what we're going to see. But if he is, it's going to be very hard for the federations to win against what's probably the best minister of this cabinet at this time.
It's interesting. Just as we wrap up, I had someone from the federation, one of the doctors, last week, and my understanding is that one of the other things Christian Dubé is asking for here is whatever deal is reached, that he would have the authority singularly to go ahead and change that deal, veto the deal on his own, which is something they object to as well. Had you heard that?
I've heard that, because the Bill 106 gives the power to the minister to make those kind of changes. At the same time, it's a power that most of the ministers didn't have in the law, but they used to have in any kind of negotiation. So I think that, right now it's all about perception, and everyone is trying to influence the public perception of this situation. So that's why, everyone is doing politics, and that's why we like it so much, Aaron. This is just politics.
Yeah, and who doesn't love that? Victor Henriquez, Victor, thank you very much. I appreciate it.